It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS 101.1 FM and AM 1160. We're on the line this morning with George Colberg, who is the CEO of Kalos Therapeutics, which is a neat-sounding company, biotech company. It's been developing therapeutics to treat hospitalized COVID-19 patients. And our conversation brought to you by Marcus and Mack, a law firm representing injured people. Mr. Colberg, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
It's good to have you with us here today. I want to talk about this very interesting concept of vaccine passports. We have heard that they were coming, and I guess now they're here, right?
Well, they're coming. There are 17 different initiatives alone in the U.S. for different types of vaccine passports. I think they really should be called certificates. Passports, something your government has vetted, and there are rules and regulations that are set up for the world we cooperate with. This is just the start. I mean, we had to hurry to get vaccines out, but we should take our time to do this correctly. Sure, it's a great idea to allow the transportation industry, the hospitality industry, the sports industries to open up. But we should be making sure that it's safe for everyone. I'll let you go on from there because there's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, there really, really is. I think when you say that about our currency today, people in stores are looking at somebody hands them a $20 bill, and it looks different than it did last year, and that looks different than it did the year before, and the year before, and the year before. Things keep changing. The government actually stepping in and making something official would seem to go a long way toward making a COVID vaccine passport much more palatable to many more people, would it not?
It would certainly help. I mean, Israel's been very proactive about getting everyone vaccinated, and they've got their green card going already, and their system is running pretty smoothly. Estonia, a tiny country, but with great IT, and they're doing a very good job managing their population. But I think if you look at the spirit of the American people, when you start mandating you have to have this, you start excluding the people who might need it. Are we being fair and equitable across all races? Probably not. This vaccine certification should be simple, free, open. It should be available to people digitally or on paper. And the highest point, it should protect people's privacy. I mean, we've already seen the incidences where people put on Facebook their vaccination card and they got hacked and their card got copied, and who knows where they're being sold or what's going on with that. There's too many loose ends that haven't been addressed to rush into this.
Boy,
we have time. We should do this right.
That is a perfect way to put it. Too many loose ends that have to be handled correctly, and our country sometimes has a real difficult time doing things correctly. We can see how easily it would get out of control. What are some of the things that we should look for in order to make it work?
I think a national discussion about whether your health records need to be linked to this, because there's so many things that can happen. We're all different, even though they are running clinical trials on the vaccines and the therapies and the antivirals. We're all very different. I mean, we've seen immunity at 72 days. There's been a recent study showing just over 100. Well, who's going to police that? Mm-hmm. Are you going to go turn yourself in that, gee, I need another test, it's past 72 days, or do I need to test at 90 days? Do I need to get a booster? None of that is clear. And yet we're rushing to put this card out to stimulate a couple of very important industries, but without really a clear plan or thought. And maybe we could avoid the chaos of the vaccine rollout by doing this correctly.
Yeah. If we do it incorrectly, I'm assuming that there is a great risk of counterfeiting and of black marketing, right?
It's already started.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. So let's talk about what it would do. You mentioned a couple of industries certainly that would benefit from a vaccine passport, but that's not the highest calling for a passport, would it be?
No, probably not. But it would give an awful lot of comfort to the people that work in the hospitality industry. Some of those people who don't have access to health care, who may be working in just the service sector of hospitality and need the protection. Even if you surround them with other vaccinated people, they're going to be more comfortable and more likely to stay healthy. I mean, there's a number of ways we can make this work so it is equitable for people. And the issue comes up on travel with your kids all the time. Where
Hmm.
that do you want your child to be vaccinated? What if you don't believe in vaccinations at all? Does that mean you don't get to travel? Your kids don't get to travel? There, there are too many areas that need to be addressed.
We know that the vaccine itself, there are going to be people who will resist getting the vaccine no matter what. I would assume that this adds another layer of suspicion in their minds. Do I now have to carry some sort of document, some card that's going to be my pass to get into this or into that event or something? And obviously, if they're having trouble coming around to actually getting a vaccine, carrying a card to that effect would be something even more problematic.
Right. And at what point do you measure your full inoculation? There was a study done at Maccabees University where people were still dying who had been vaccinated. People were still getting sick up until about 22 days. So our rule of thumb should be 2 shots, 22 days before you have even full protection. And from there, you can still get sick again. You can get sick if you've been vaccinated. We still have to be careful. So rushing to boost the airline business, I know the importance of it. The hospitality industry, absolutely. But let's do it properly this time. We don't need to rush this.
George Colberg is our guest here this morning on Indiana in the Morning. He's in Phoenix, Arizona, talking to us. George, Kalos Therapeutics is a company that's been developing therapeutics, and that's something that has been really interesting to me. We're so focused on vaccines to prevent getting COVID-19. We need to figure out a way that we can treat people and treat them effectively once they have it. And that's what your company is about. Tell me what's going on with your company and how they're helping to fight this battle.
Well, Kalos is very patient-centric. We believe that the patient should get treated, not just his disease or her disease. So in the case with the antivirals, we want to stop that person's illness as quick as possible to prevent damage to their lungs, to prevent damage to their brain, their heart, their kidneys. We're seeing young people come down with diabetes after they've had SARS-CoV-2. What mutations will we see next year? I mean, there's so much importance that should be put into the antivirals, protecting the vulnerable patient. I mean, if you think back to the times we went through HIV, it was years before we had an effective therapy for that. And it still continues today. Even as much as it's under control, we need better antivirals, we need new therapies, and we should do it in a way that allows the patient to enjoy the quality of life. We're active in cancer development as well. And one of the main goals of our company has been safe, non-toxic, effective treatment for cancer and rare diseases. We're approaching this the same way with COVID. We want to make sure that we're not going to make you sick by putting you on a medicine that should help you heal.
Do you see the future of therapeutics with COVID-19? And since you mentioned cancer, we'll bring that into the conversation as well. Do you see it as something that is going to be more along the lines of changing cellular structure or attacking immune problems? How do you see it all working?
I think the area of precision medicine is where we'll see the most growth. Companies that can treat a disease, improve quality of life, lessen the burden on caregivers and family. Well, that's where we're heading, that precision, more personalized approach. If you had 100 people in line for a concert, every one of them would be different. Probably 80% of them would end up in the same clinical trial. We need to pay more attention to the differences and get so we can fine-tune medicines more carefully for our patient population.
You have great hope that we'll be able to eradicate COVID-19 and whatever comes along next in rapid fashion?
Yes, if we just keep doing what we're doing now and don't let this fade away, the work that organizations like Gavi and CP are doing make a huge difference. Public health measures should be to prevent illness in the public, not try to respond after the horse is out of the barn. We've got to get after these diseases. They're out there. Coronaviruses continue to remotely spread and spread more virulently where we don't have vaccinations. We have to think in the sense of a global treatment for these patients so we can ever get to herd immunity.
I hinted at it a second ago. Do you believe that there is something coming after COVID-19 and after that and after that? Have we entered a whole new world that we really didn't want to go into?
Yeah, we're much closer to nature than we ever have been, and that's a good thing. But if you think about the bat, who's carrying some of the blame for this particular virus, they're like flying virus tankers. They carry 150 different viruses. Those can spread to humans. They become zoonotic. They jump back and forth between animals and humans, and we get swine flu and bird flu and everything else. So will we continue to see infectious diseases? Yes. Will they all be coronaviruses? No. We're fairly lucky that this isn't virulent like Ebola, but unlucky in the sense that it's not as deadly because now it's learning to spread faster. It's becoming a very elegant virus that can spread quickly and make people sick, not just like the flu, but the long-term damage. And that's what scares most healthcare professionals, the sudden influx and damage to people's minds and their hearts and their kidneys. It's going to be a long-term complication that we have to fight for years.
He's George Colberg with Kalos Therapeutics. Got your work cut out for you, sir, and I'm glad there are folks like you out there doing that for us. We appreciate it. And we appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
Have a great day.
You too. Bye. You too. Bye.